Hello, my dear church boys, and welcome back to Saint Robert's Daygame Podcast. And in this podcast episode, we're going to talk about how I am choosing my daygame travel destinations, how I pick the best places to go on daygame trips. We're going to go through 4 steps here. Number 1, I'm going to tell you where should you go on a daygame trip if this is one of your first daygame trips, if you are maybe a beginning daygamer. Number 2, we're going to talk about the question, do you have to know the language? And this especially applies if you're going to some places in Eastern Europe or if you're going to Latin America. In some cases, you don't need to worry about the language. In other cases, you should know some basic language of whichever country you are going to. And then I will walk you through the steps I am taking when I'm picking out my next city to go to. And this is more about the cities that are off the radar, maybe off the typical list of the cities where people go. So if I want to go somewhere where most day gamers have never been, then these are the steps I am gonna use, especially some cities on which you can find no information about in any forums and any group chats, etc. And then at the end of the video, at the end of the podcast, I'm gonna give you a few tips so you can avoid a few really dumb, kind of silly, stupid mistakes I've made, and I've ended up in some cities that I really hate. So I'm gonna give you a few tips that I use now to avoid cities I don't like. And if you're new to my podcast, then I am Saint Robert, and for the last more or less 4 years, I've been teaching guys from 18 to more than 60 years old about daygame and dating. And I've spent the last 2.5 years living from city to city, Airbnb to Airbnb, looking for the cities with the most beautiful, most interesting girls, and also 3 cities where I simply would wanna live a few months each year. Before we get into today's topic, a quick list of updates, things that have been happening, things that are coming up. I am in small city in Colombia right now, as you can see, like a very fairly simple Airbnb on like a weird colorful sofa that looks like it's from the 90s. In a few days, on March 19th, I am going to Bogota. I'll be there for 2 weeks. I'm coaching a student there. I will have 1 extra coaching spot available there if you're interested. And then early April, I'm heading to New York for 1 week. I will have 1 coaching spot there. And then mid-April, I am heading back to Europe. As far as my plans for Europe go right now, I have no idea. It really depends on what happens with the war. If Eastern Europe is safe, then I'm gonna spend a few months there because there are a few great spots with beautiful and interesting girls where me and my friends wanna go. If we can't do that, there is a nice, beautiful, very interesting, very touristic city with pretty interesting girls in the Western Europe that I'm gonna go to spend a few months. But long story short, whatever happens, I'm just gonna find the best daygame city in Europe and spend my summer there. So it's gonna be fun. If you wanna see what's happening there, where I'm going, then make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel where I will be posting vlogs from all the cities I go to. And now that I've bragged that regardless of what happens, I'm gonna find the best location in Europe, well, let's actually talk about how to find the best destination for your next daygame trip. And now the first topic, where should the inspired and the obsessed guys go on their daygame trips? If you have no idea what I mean by the inspired and the obsessed, then in the previous podcast episode, I talked about 4 phases daygamers go through on their daygame journey. And the first 2 phases are the inspired and the obsessed. In short, if you have less than 8, maybe 10-ish daygame lays, then you are definitely in this category, and these are the cities you should go to. If you are a beginner daygamer, you should go to the most popular daygame travel destinations. They are popular for a reason. Prague and some other cities in Czech Republics, it's a reason that those places are popular. Warsaw and Krakow in Poland, some other cities in Poland, Medellin in Colombia, Playa del Carmen in Mexico, Belgrade, Serbia, etc. I mean, Kiev before the war started. Those places are popular for a reason. It doesn't matter that there are a lot of daygamers. So if you have, I would say, less than 10 daygame lays, if this is one of your first daygame trips, then just go to those cities. They are popular for a reason. They're gonna be easy logistics-wise. You won't have to go crazy figuring out which streets you have to go to, which streets are safe, which are not. Like, it's really, really easy. So if you're starting out, go to places where everyone else is going. There are hot girls in all of these cities. If you have decent game, you will be doing okay. And if you don't have decent game yet, those are great places for learning. And now with this out of the way, let's actually get to the topic of this podcast. Where do you go on a day game trip once you have been to those most popular and typical travel destinations? Which brings us to an important question, the topic number 2 of this podcast. Do you need to know the language? In the most popular day game travel destinations, for example, the cities I named before, there are a lot of tourists in those cities, and when you have a lot of tourists, the local industry adapts to the city becoming more international, and you have a lot of businesses that require people to speak English, or it's fairly typical. For example, you go to Prague, in any coffee shop you go to, in most coffee shops, people will speak English, and it's just such a touristic place. So when you go to a touristic place like that, you'll meet many people that speak English, so you don't have to worry about English if you're going to a city like that. But once you start going to more interesting destinations, especially places like second-tier cities in Eastern Europe or second-tier cities in Latin America, where you have dogs barking in the background like right now when I'm recording this podcast, well, you have two options. One, you will have to do a lot of sets to find girls that speak even basic English. This is what happened when I went last summer to a second-tier city in Ukraine, where I spent almost 3 months. And I coached a few guys there, and just 50% of the girls spoke zero English. And I would say decent, like good English, 10 to 20% of the girls spoke good English. So we had to do a lot of sets to find chicks that have any like decent level of English, but that doesn't matter, because if you know what you're doing and you meet someone who speaks a little bit of English, let's say 50% of girls will speak a little bit of English, you can easily communicate with them in their broken English, a little bit of Google Translate. It's not rocket science. Or the second option for these places is you will simply have to learn the language. It doesn't mean you have to become like a master of Spanish language if you want to go to like a smaller city in Colombia, for example. But you will need some language skills. And if you are a decent day gamer, if you are baby Casanova or deacon level, which again, if you haven't listened to the previous podcast episode, means you're a pretty damn good day gamer, you really know what you're doing, and you have proven that with your lay count, you have a really decent lay count. If your game is like that, especially deacon, and you have 30 plus day game lays in several countries, then well, your game is good and you don't necessarily have to rely on your verbal game. So I studied Spanish with a teacher online twice a week lessons for maybe 6 months. Before that, I did like Pimsleur's level 1 of Spanish. Like my Spanish isn't great. It's super basic, but it has been enough to get me laid in a ton of places in Latin America. If on the other hand you are more of a beginning day gamer, like inspired or obsessed and don't speak a lot of Spanish, then well, you will have to rely on doing a lot of sets to find chicks that speak at least some English, but that is not a bad thing. You will learn a lot about the non-verbals, about what are the most important things to say, when you should stay silent, and you will actually learn how little what you say has to do with whether you get laid or not. So to summarize this language question, the better your game is, the less language you need, and the worse your game is, the more of a beginner you are, the more you will have to rely either on finding girls that speak English, or you will have to rely on knowing the language pretty good, or simply you will have to learn how to communicate more with nonverbals and how the game works when you can't say everything you want to say. It's gonna be an interesting adventure. And now part 3, my personal process of finding the next destination. One thing that I want to put out here is one longer day game trip is better than several short day game trips. Basically, I would say anything that's less than 2 weeks isn't a serious day game trip. Then that's just like a tourist thing you do, and day game is something you do on the side. But for it to be considered a real day game trip, it has to be at least a few weeks. Well, another thing before we get started on this topic is don't listen to what people are saying online. Only listen to what really good day gamers are saying about the cities you want to go to. For example, is Kiev a great day game city? Well, before everything started, or is it a terrible day game city? Well, you will hear so many guys online say, "Oh my God, I went to Kiev. It was so amazing. I went on these dates with these incredible hotties. Oh my God." You will hear a bunch of stories like that. Most of those stories don't tell the fact that these guys got numbers, they got dates, but most of them didn't get laid. So is it a good day game travel destination or is it a bad? You can't trust everything you hear online, and the same is about Sweden. Many guys say, "Oh, Sweden is so crazy, the chicks are so open-minded," and at the same time, I know a few guys who live in Sweden who are decent day gamers, but they are struggling really bad with their day game results in Sweden, even though they are pretty damn decent day gamers. So don't read the forums and all of that stuff, like, unless you really know that the guy saying something about a city is a good day gamer. Like, take it with a grain of salt. And it's just as well as it's also the fact that there are many really good day gamers who will not talk online about the best day game cities they know about, simply because they don't want those cities to become the next Prague or the next Warsaw or Krakow or the next Belgrade. So take all of that with a grain of salt. And now here are the 6 steps I take when I'm trying to find my next day game travel destination. Sometimes I take just a few of these steps, sometimes I take all of them, and sometimes I take even more steps. Too long, didn't read version. Look at where the hottest girls you've ever met were from and talk to your day game buddies. That's it. But now the first step I take, I travel a lot for day game. I go to very different places. I've been to very different places, and I always meet girls from very different locations. So once we spent a lot of time with my buddies in Playa del Carmen, Mexico a year ago, I realized that so many of the hottest girls I've met there were from Argentina. Well, where do you think I went this winter? Where did I spend almost 3 months this winter? I went to Argentina, of course. Of course, after spending almost 3 months in Buenos Aires, I learned much more about the country. I learned about many other cities. I met people from many other cities, and now I know that the next time I go there, I will know the best cities to go to, of course. So the process of looking at where the hottest girls and the most interesting girls you meet are from, it of course always continues. And now let's go to the next step. Talk to other day gamers. If you are a member of really good group chats, then ask there. You can ask in our group chat if you are a member there. If you're not, you can go to my website, strobert.blog. It is strobert.blog. You can sign up for the mailing list, and in the welcome email you will receive an invitation link to join the mailing list, and you can ask there. But with the group chat, the thing is very simple. If you just show up there and you're just, "Hey, I'm looking for an interesting day game travel destination, where should I go?" Let me tell you a little secret. Unless you are a great day gamer that's known in the group chat, nobody is really gonna help you. Other beginners are gonna talk with you. So just one tip about group chats: if you join a group chat, make sure you become a part of the group chat. Talk to people, introduce yourself, become part of the community. Because I've met so many amazing guys from the group chat that we have. We have almost 300 guys there from all over the world. So if you're nice enough, if you bond to people, you will definitely find out about some pretty interesting destinations. Because when I started the traveling for day game, I didn't have this community and I didn't have so many day game friends, and I didn't know where to go, and that's how I ended up in Bucharest, Romania, which from all the places I've ever been to for a day game trip has been my least favorite. And it's all because I just didn't have a community of guys to talk to. "Hey, who has been to Bucharest, Romania? Is it great? Is it terrible?" And I know many guys like it, but I really hated it. And the only reason I ended up there was because I didn't ask my day game friends about it. So I met hot girls from many places. I've talked to other day gamers about all of this. And now the third thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna check the cost of living. And there are two ways I do that. Number one, I will check out Airbnbs, and number two, I will check out Numbeo. Let's talk about both of them. When looking for an Airbnb, of course, you wanna always stay in a very central location, very close to the bars, but there are like slight differences when you're going to Europe and other safe places, or where you're going to Latin America. If you're going to Europe, let's take Prague as an example, you don't have to stay in like Prague 1, the center, like the old Prague with all the bars. You don't have to do that. You can stay in Prague 2. Prague 2 will be much cheaper. There will be many interesting bars nearby. Even if you do dates in Prague 1, it's gonna be very easy to pull to Prague 2, or a lot of locals will actually prefer to meet you in Prague 2, just because Prague 1 is so touristic, they try to avoid it. And if you are going out with someone who is from another country, you can say, oh yeah, Prague 1 is so touristic. I don't like the most touristic places. I prefer the more places where the locals hang out. So let's go to this bar in Prague too. So I think in Europe it's a great idea to stay like kinda in the place where all the action is, but like 10-minute walk further away. And this is very different in Latin America. In Latin America, you want to stay in the safest area of the town, on the safest street in the town. You don't want to do the thing where you're staying really close to all the action, but like a few streets away, because depending on the city where you are, for example, the city where I am right now, I'm staying in what's supposed to be a good part of the city. Like I'm 2 blocks away from all the bars and restaurants and stores and all this action. But then I'm also a few blocks away from the only neighborhood in the city where they sell heroin. I've literally walked around during the day, I kind of like walked like a few blocks in that direction, and I literally saw those like small plastic baggies that they only sell drugs in, like laying on the ground. So in Latin America, don't save money on staying on Airbnbs. Just like don't stay a few blocks away from the action. You want to stay in the action, especially if this is one of your first trips. You want to stay on the safest street. So that's one thing. Check out how much your Airbnb will cost. And Numbeo, the second thing, Numbeo, you can write it like a number, but the last letter is, instead of an R, it's an O. It's a site that compares cost of living in different places, so you can enter that you're going to, Medellin, Colombia, and it will show you the prices of typical products in Medellin, Colombia, in comparison to prices in your city where you are right now. So you figured out which countries are the countries where you met the hottest girls from, you talked to other day gamers, you looked at the prices, and let's, as an example, say you came up with a short list of Brazil, Chile, or Argentina. So how do you decide which one to go to? Well, if it's a really close call between 3 places, then I will just go to the place which I think has something else that I want to do, something else I'm interested in, something else I want to see and experience. But let's assume you're trying to pick a destination only based on the girls, and most importantly, how well you could be doing with these girls. Then, well, let me show you a trick, or let me tell you about a trick I learned from my good day game friend, Mr. T. Mr. T is a black guy from New York City, and when he goes to a place in Eastern Europe or in Balkans, well, in some places you really get extra points for being black, just as in Latin America you get extra points for being like from US or being from Europe, or in general being white. It just gives you extra points. But one thing he did to find out whether that city is a place where he gets extra points for being black, he just set his Tinder location to that city and just swiped there, and just looked at how he was doing swiping Tinder remotely. And it's really simple, but you don't have to, don't look at the girls you're swiping on. That does not matter at all. The only thing that matters is look at the girls you're getting matches with. And if you swipe, let's say you do like 100, 200 swipes in like Brazil, and then in Argentina, and then in Chile, and you see that you like the girls you matched with in Brazil the most, well, then just go to Brazil. Or if you liked Chile, then well, whatever, go to Chile. But this is a step I don't take too often. This is like in extreme cases where I have like no idea, like before going to Argentina or Chile or wherever, like I was thinking about between several places I was trying to choose. I did this because I had no idea how the girls in Chile look, and if I chatted with them, like would my whiteness give me like some privilege in Latin America, which is like a real thing in Latin America in some places. So honestly, that's what I did, and you can do this, but this is like a last resort type of thing, because mostly once you know which countries have the hottest girls for your taste, once you've talked to other day gamers and checked prices, you'll be pretty much ready to book. But if you're not, then this is an extra step you can take. Okay, let's say I've decided on the country. Let's say I've decided I'm going, well, the last example was I went to Argentina for 3 months. So let's say I decided to go to Argentina. Well, what I'll do next is I'll go on Facebook and I will find the expat or nomad Facebook groups in, let's say, Buenos Aires if I'm going to Argentina. And by reading through those group chats, like looking at the old threads, you will learn everything you need to know. You will learn the best areas to stay at, the best areas, like the areas to stay away from. You will learn about the most typical scams, the most typical things you have to be aware of. So just join those Facebook groups. Don't ask stupid questions there. Just scroll really like spend a few hours just reading through there, and you'll find all the information you need. And the step that brings the most pleasure, and that you should always do after you go through these 5 steps, go online and book the flights. Just buy those fucking flights, just book them, and then, well, you know, you're going on a day game journey, you're going on a day game trip, and there's no way of backing out of it. But sometimes you will want to go to a place, or you'll be looking at some places which don't have enough people, or maybe that's not the capital, or in Europe there are a few countries with fairly small capitals, or in Latin America and Eastern Europe, if you want to go to second tier cities, that this is the stuff you will really have to do. So let's talk about that. I'll take 3 steps to evaluate smaller cities. Number 1, I go to Wikipedia and I look how many people are living in the city. If it's less than, I'd say, 500,000, then I would say the city is too small, with some exceptions, of course, but that's number 1. Does the city have 500,000 people? Number 2, I will go to Google Images and Google that city and just kind of look how the streets look. I've actually even looked at Street View at some points. I know a guy who goes on YouTube and just Googles city name bicycle tour. And there are videos on YouTube where a guy sticks a camera on his bicycle and just for like an hour or 2 is just riding through the city. And I've actually done that as well, just to really see how the city looks like. So step number 2, Google Images, like a YouTube video of a bike tour, anything like that, to see, does the city look nice? Will you like it? Does it seem busy? Do the streets look busy enough for day game? Well, and the third question is, how touristic is this place? If it's small and touristic, it's gonna be tricky because you probably have a bunch of other guys that are there just hitting on girls all the time, whether that's online or whether that's in bars and clubs, or even day gamers, because you know, like, it's not 10 years ago. Day game isn't this like unicorn thing that like almost no one does. Like, you go to any major city, to the main day game spots at like right after work, and you will see day gamers there. So if it's small and touristic, to me it's more of a no than a yes, except if it's like a known party destination. Because if it's a known party destination, you will have also a lot of girls that are traveling to that place to party. And yes, while they are going out to clubs and bars and they're getting attention online and in all these venues, still they're getting approached by a day gamer much less. For example, you can actually think about a place like Miami Beach. Yeah, everyone goes there to party, but how many day gamers are there? Yeah, there are a few, but you know, it's a big place. It's a big city. If you go to the Miami city and then to the beach, there's enough kind of for everyone almost, and they will get more attention in bars than they get on the street, so you still actually get some pretty decent credit for approaching her on a street, especially if you have decent game. And again, if you are that, like the deacon level, like a really good day gamer, and you decide to go to this city, also just because you like the city, maybe not just because of the girls, you don't have to worry about it, because if you're that level, then you can still game and get decent results even in an overgamed city. Well, if you go through all of these steps, you can find so many amazing destinations to go to. And as promised before, let me give you a few tips you can kind of take into consideration to avoid going to places that you will actually hate, like I've done that in the past. First of the 4 tips, if you are not really sure you will like the city, only book a hotel room in the city center for maybe 3-4 nights. Go check it out and then decide where you want to stay longer, because my first real 1-month day game trip was to Serbia, to Belgrade. I loved it. A lot of funny things happened. We went with a bunch of friends from all over the world. It was just amazing. We had these stories of one guy, like several guys had like light mental breakdowns. A few of them became vegans. One guy went out with like, let's just say she was a daughter of a very important man in Serbia. It was an incredible trip. And then after this, I book a place in Bucharest, Romania for a month, and I go there, and like 2 days in, I'm like, I hate this place. and I had a place there for a month, and back then, I couldn't just gonna book another place in another country, book new flights. It all cost money back then, and like back then it was like a big expense. So if you're not sure, check it out for a few days and then decide if you wanna stay longer. Number 2, and I mentioned this before, don't believe what people online say. That's why you have to talk to day gamers. That's why it's good to be part of good quality communities where you prove yourself to be a quality day gamer by taking action and talking about things that happen to you while you are really day gaming, really taking action, really going on dates. And when other good day gamers see, oh, this guy always going on dates, always asking questions about dates, and the good questions, the questions that haven't been answered on daygamecourses.com, and they will respect you, and you will just kind of become the part of the inner circle. I wouldn't say fast, but in a few months it's doable. So don't believe what people online say. Talk to day gamers you trust and no one else. And the tip number 3 is go on day game trips with your day game friends. Of course, I'm doing this like 12 months a year all the time, so like I will have to travel solo to some crazy destinations where others don't want to go, and of course my day game friends can't travel as much as I travel because they have real works and real jobs and real responsibilities in life. But the best trips, not the best, but some of the best trips I've had was when we just were a bunch of guys and we were like, hey, like let's go somewhere, let's go to this place. And last summer we went I spent almost 3 months in a smaller, well not smaller, one of the biggest cities, but like a great city in Ukraine, and it was just an unbelievable trip. I went there with my friends and a bunch of students joined us, and I coached a bunch of guys there, and it was amazing. And the same was with Playa del Carmen, Mexico, like a year ago. Again, I went there with Mario, with Mr. T, with David, and Paulo joined us. We had an incredible trip. A bunch of guys also came for coaching, and it's just a great experience to hang out with other day gamers. So consider going on a day game journey with some of your day game friends. And tip number 4, if you're going there for a month or like 3 or more weeks, just think, what else am I gonna do there? Because if you're not working online, so when the only thing you do is day game, then it does get kind of boring pretty fast. So maybe just like me, you're training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or some other martial art or some other sport that you can do there, just so you have other stuff to do, explore the culture, meet people in different ways. So that has helped a lot during my day game trips as well. Whenever I go to a new interesting day game destination, I vlog about it. I show in my vlogs like everything you need to know about the city from the terms of day game, and maybe some lessons about the city, some pros and cons. So if you want to see those vlogs, make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, Saint Robert Daygame. If you want to know where me and my friends are going on our day game journeys that are not public, not on the YouTube, not mentioned on the podcasts, then make sure you are on a mailing list, because some of those journeys we're very welcome to invite other guys with us. So make sure you are subscribed to the mailing list. Just go to strobert.blog, strobert.blog, and sign up for the mailing list. And also in the welcome email, you will get an invitation link to join our group chat where we have almost 300 guys from all over the world. If you have any more questions about Daygame Travel, then you can ask them on the YouTube, in the comments of this video, or on our Daygame Church Telegram group chat. And of course, if you wanna join me in Bogota or New York City or somewhere in Europe, then go to my website, strobert.blog. On the top menu, click on Daygame Coaching, read everything, fill the form at the bottom of the page, and I'll send you all the information. The cities that are available, the dates, the pricing, and everything else. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Bye, guys.